Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's space agency ISRO counts down to the launch of a mission to dock satellites in space. US President Joe Biden announces a $2.5 billion fresh military aid for Ukraine. Former US President Jimmy Carter dies at 100. A village in India was named after him to honor his visit in 1978. And in cricket, India loses the Melbourne Test to Australia, trails the series 1-2 with one test to go. In a pivotal milestone in space exploration, Indian Space Research Organisation is set to launch its space docking experiment called SpaDeX. The mission will use PSLV C-60, lifting off at 10 p.m. local time, that is 16:30 GMT, from Sriharikota. It's a pioneering mission aimed to establish India's capability in orbital docking. SpaDeX will deploy two identical satellites. Key objectives include performing precision rendezvous and docking maneuvers, validating power transfer between docked spacecraft, and operating payloads post-undocking with a 2-year lifespan. This capability is vital for India's lunar and interplanetary missions. Docking technology enables multi-launch missions and supports future human spaceflight. Only the US, Russia and China have mastered such advancements so far. So let's understand what SpaDeX mission is all about. The SpaDeX mission is a cost-effective technology demonstrator mission for the demonstration of in-space docking using two small spacecraft launched by PSLV. This technology is essential for India's space ambitions, such as an Indian on the moon, sample return from the moon, the building and operation of Bharatiya Antariksh Station. Through this mission, India is marching towards becoming the fourth country in the world to have space docking technology. The primary objective of the SpaDeX mission is to develop and demonstrate the technology needed for rendezvous docking and undocking of two small spacecraft. Demonstration of the transfer of electric power between the docked spacecraft, which is essential for future applications such as in-space robotics, like composite spacecraft control and payload operations after undocking as well. The demonstrated precision of the PSLV vehicle will be utilized to give a small relative velocity between the target and chaser spacecraft at the time of separation from the launch vehicle. This incremental velocity will allow the target spacecraft to build a 10 to 20 kilometer inter-satellite separation. In other news, President Joe Biden of the US has announced a $2.5 billion in military assistance for Ukraine as the US rushes to aid Kyiv before President-elect Donald Trump takes office. The package includes $1.25 billion in military aid from the US stockpiles and $1.22 billion under the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. Unlike stockpile aid, the USAI funds are used to procure equipment, often taking months or years to reach the battlefield. The latest assistance for Ukraine follows an announcement at the beginning of the month of a nearly $1 billion tranche of drones, ammunition and equipment. The outgoing Biden government is working to get as much aid as possible to Ukraine before Trump, who has repeatedly criticized U.S. assistance for Kyiv and claimed he could secure a ceasefire within hours, takes over in January. In South Korea, a memorial service was organized for the victims of the Jeju airplane crash. South Korea's acting president has ordered an emergency safety inspection of the country's entire airline operations after 179 people died in the plane crash on Sunday. Here's more.
Two crew members were pulled alive from the crash site at the Muan International Airport in South Korea on Sunday morning. This is one of the worst plane crashes in decades to hit the country. South Korea's acting president announced a week-long mourning period. Mourners also gathered at a memorial center in the city of Muan to pay their respects, leaving flowers and sharing their grief.
공항에 이미 들었을 때는
When I saw the video, it was like the plane had lost control. My daughter, who is only in her 40s, is gone. This is unimaginable.
좀 마음이 안 좋죠.
It happened right here, not far away. It's traumatic. I don't know how long this feeling will last, but I know it won't go away anytime soon.
해도 좀 안타깝고.
The crash occurred as the plane attempted to land on its belly after the landing gear failed to deploy. Both crew members were rescued from the tail section, which was the only part of the plane that retained some shape. Another Jeju airplane reported a landing gear issue just a day later. South Korea has ordered air safety probe and also a special inspection of all Boeing 737-800s operating in the country.
We will conduct a detailed inspection of the B737-800 aircraft and review maintenance systems to determine next steps.
Aviation experts say some sort of landing gear malfunction was likely, with bird strikes and poor weather also under probe. This crash reminds everyone of the 228 people killed in a South Korean airline in Guam in 1997. Bureau Report, DD India.
And staying with South Korea, the authorities have sought the arrest of suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol over his short-lived declaration of martial law. The Joint Investigation Unit is seeking Yoon's arrest on charges of insurrection and abuse of power after the impeached leader ignored 3 summons to appear for questioning. A court will decide whether to issue an arrest warrant following the request. Yoon was suspended from presidential powers after being impeached by Parliament earlier this month over his decision to briefly impose martial law. A constitutional court trial is ongoing into whether to reinstate Yoon or remove him permanently from office. It has 180 days to reach a decision. On Friday, the court held its first preparatory hearing where a request by Yoon's lawyers for a postponement in proceedings to better prepare was denied. The court said it would move swiftly. The next hearing is due on the 3rd of January. Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev is demanding that Russia take responsibility for accidental shooting of Azerbaijan Airlines passenger jet before it crashed, killing 38 of the 67 people on board. Aliyev honored the victims of the crash at a ceremony and posthumously awarded the crew with the titles of National Hero of Azerbaijan. Aliyev said he wanted Russia to accept it was guilty of downing the plane and to punish those responsible for it. Azerbaijani officials have suggested that the aircraft was hit by a Russian air defense system as it tried to land in Grozny, capital of the Russian Republic of Chechnya.
First, the Russian side should apologize to Azerbaijan. Secondly, it must admit its guilt. Thirdly, the guilty must be punished, brought to criminal responsibility, and compensation must be paid to the Azerbaijani state, the injured passengers, and crew members. These are our conditions. The first of them was already fulfilled yesterday. I hope our other conditions will also be accepted.
Onu da bilirik ki
Russia has not yet confirmed that one of its air defense missiles hit the plane, though President Vladimir Putin told Aliyev in a phone call over the weekend that the systems were active at the time and that he was sorry the incident took place in Russian airspace. Azerbaijan's general prosecutor said in a statement that Russia had informed Baku that intensive measures are being carried out to identify the guilty people and bring them to justice. Syria's de facto leader Ahmad al-Shara has said that it might take up to 4 years before elections can be held in the country. His remarks mark the first time he has spoken about a possible electoral timeline since Bashar al-Assad was ousted earlier this month. In an interview to a media outlet, al-Shara explained that drafting a new constitution could take as long as 3 years. He said Syrians might need to wait another year to see significant changes take shape.
Drafting a new constitution and the constitutional amendments need a long time by experts. They may need 2 or 3 years. God knows our country cannot be run by the mentality of groups and factions. Since we were in Idlib, we are ready for this psychologically and morally.
Croatia's incumbent President Zoran Milanovic secured the most votes in Sunday's presidential election but fell just short of majority. A second round of voting will be held on 12th January. Milanovic secured 50.1% of the votes in the first round of voting. His closest rival, Dragan Primorac, trails far behind with 22.3% support, setting up an interesting second round. In Spain, thousands of protesters are demanding the resignation of regional leader Carlos Mazón over his handling of recent floods, which claimed over 220 lives. Local residents have been critical of what they see as lackluster alerts from authorities when the floods hit and the late response by the emergency services. Mazón has admitted he had made errors but refused to resign, saying the body responsible for measuring water flows run by the national government failed to send sufficient warnings. Right now, take a look at what else is making news around the world. Germany said on Monday that it would extend stepped-up border controls beyond March 2025 following the Christmas market attack and ahead of February election. In mid-September, Berlin imposed controls with all 9 neighboring countries for 6 months, aiming to curb irregular immigration and heighten security after a deadly knife attack. 13 people, including a former transport minister, were charged by Serbian prosecutors on Monday over the fatal collapse of a train station roof. The accident that happened in November in the city of Novi Sad had killed 15 people aged between 6 and 74. The fatal tragedy had sparked nationwide protests demanding justice for the victims. Spain's inflation in December climbed to its highest level since July and drifted further from the Eurozone target as fuel prices rose on Monday. Consumer prices in the European Union's fourth largest economy rose 2.8% on an annual basis, up from 2.4% in November. Police in Kenya's capital Nairobi fired tear gas to disperse protesters demonstrating on Monday against what they say is a wave of unexplained abductions of government critics. According to human rights groups, dozens of Kenyans have been abducted in recent months, while Kenyan authorities have said the government does not engage in any abductions. Still to come on DD India Live. More migrants reach Spain's Gran Canaria. And a new board game set against the backdrop of an imagined Chinese invasion of Taiwan, set for release in January.
Well, 2024 has been quite a journey, especially when we talk about the world of cinema. From the 100 years of Raj Kapoor to India's prowess at Cannes Film Festival, we'll take you through the journey of the year 2024, Selections 2024.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Former US President and Nobel Peace Laureate Jimmy Carter has passed away at 100. Carter had been in hospice care since mid-February 2023 at his home in Plains, Georgia, the same town where he was born, and once ran a peanut farm before becoming governor of the Peach State and running for White House.
My name is Jimmy Carter and I'm running for president.
Jimmy Carter was the 39th President of the United States of America between 1977 and 1981. He was awarded the 2002 Nobel Peace Prize for work to find peaceful solutions to international conflicts, to advance democracy and human rights, and to promote economic and social development. Carter was born on October 1st, 1924 in Georgia. After 7 years' service as a naval officer, he returned to his hometown. In 1962, he entered state politics, and 8 years later, he was elected the governor of Georgia. Carter announced his candidacy for the president in December 1974 and began a 2-year campaign that gradually gained momentum. On November 2, 1976, he defeated Republican incumbent Gerald Ford in the presidential election and was sworn in as the next president. On September 17, 1978, he signed the Camp David Accords, which led to peace treaty between Israel and Egypt. Carter prompted government efficiency through civil service reforms and proceeded with deregulation of the trucking and airline industries. He sought to improve the environment. His expansion of the national park system included protection of 103 million acres of Alaskan lands. To increase human and social services, Carter created the Department of Education, bolstered the social security system, and appointed record numbers of women, blacks, and Hispanics to government jobs. After presidency, he founded the Carter Center in 1982. It's a non-governmental organization that focuses on conflict resolution and health initiatives. In 2002, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. His presidency was marked by feud lows also. The seizure as hostages of the US embassy staff in Iran dominated the news during the last 14 months of his administration. The consequences of Iran's holding Americans captive, together with continuing inflation at home, contributed to Carter's defeat in 1980. Even then, he continued the difficult negotiations over the hostages. Iran finally released the 52 Americans the same day Carter left office. In November 1980, he was defeated by Republican challenger Ronald Reagan in the presidential election. Akhilesh Suman's report for DD India.
The world is mourning the loss of Jimmy Carter. Incumbent US President Joe Biden remembered the former president as a model of what it means to live a life of meaning and purpose.
The entire Carter family, on behalf of the world, the whole nation, we send our whole heartfelt sympathies and gratitude. Our gratitude for sharing President Carter with us for so many years. You know, Jimmy Carter stands as a model of what it means to live a life of meaning and purpose. Life of principle, faith, and humility. You know, he's like my dad. He thought that, he said, Joe, your job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about dignity, your dignity. About being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, everything's going to be okay.
European leaders sent condolences to the family of late US President Jimmy Carter, highlighting his legacy as a human rights and peace advocate. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen underlined Carter's quote-unquote moral leadership. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has condoled the passing of former US President Jimmy Carter. In a post on X, he said, and I quote him here, "A statesman of great vision, he worked tirelessly for global peace and harmony. His contributions to fostering strong India-US ties leave a lasting legacy. My heartfelt condolences to his family, friends and the people of the US," unquote. As condolences pour in for the late Jimmy Carter, DD India's Siddharth Bharadwaj travels to a village near New Delhi, which was named after the former US president to commemorate his visit to the country in 1978.
Where I am standing right now is the exact place where former US President Jimmy Carter visited. This place is in India's Haryana, and the name of this place is Kartarpuri. Kartarpuri, this name has a big significance. The name of this place earlier was Daulatpur Nasirabad, which was later on changed to Kartarpuri. When former US President Jimmy Carter arrived here, when he came here, he was accompanied by the then First Lady and the then Prime Minister of India, Morarji Desai. He came here on 3rd of January 1978.
We were saddened by the news of his demise. There is sorrow all across the village. He was like a family member. The entire village consider him one of their own.
There was a lot of work done for a month, such as cleaning when he came.
The entire village gathered. He came at our doorstep.
Every year, villagers celebrate his visit of January 3rd as a memory.
He fulfilled his promise which he made to his mother of visiting India. His mother used to work here as a social worker in late 1960s. When he came here, he was given a grand welcome by showers of petals of flowers and also some handcrafted gifts which the villagers gave to former US President Jimmy Carter. In fact, during his tenure, Kartarpuri and the White House maintained remained in regular touch. Although he is not here between us, but his memories will certainly remain in the hearts of people and also in the heart of the people of Kartarpuri. With camera person Jagmohan, this is Siddharth Bharadwaj reporting for DD India in Haryana.
All right, now take a look at what else is making news in India. India is set to host the World Audiovisual Entertainment Summit for the first time in 2025. The event will provide a great opportunity to showcase the nation's creative talent to the world. The event is scheduled from 5th to 9th February 2025 in New Delhi. In the wake of the upcoming New Year celebrations, police have ramped up security arrangements in India's capital, New Delhi. The police has arranged for traffic restrictions and diversions at many places. Also, CAFP companies, motorcycle and foot patrol teams along with special patrol vehicles have been readied to manage any untoward incident. In the wake of recent violence in the Sambal district of Uttar Pradesh, a police outpost is being constructed near Jama Masjid to strengthen security and prevent further unrest. The violence had claimed 4 lives and injured more than dozens, including security personnel. A group of over 67 migrants reached Spain's Gran Canaria island on Sunday evening local time on a fiberglass boat at the beach of Castillo del Romero. Upon arrival, they were assisted and treated by the Red Cross organization. A new board game set against the backdrop of an imagined Chinese invasion of Taiwan is set for release in January 2025. Titled 2045, the game lets players navigate a military conflict just 10 days before a Chinese invasion using action cards and role-playing characters. The game aims to offer players a deeper understanding of the potential scenarios in the event of a Chinese attack. To sports news now, Indian pacer Jasprit Bumrah has been nominated for the Men's Test Cricketer of the Year award along with 3 others. The ICC announced on Monday that Bumrah, along with Joe Root, Harry Brook and Gurminder Mendes, is in contention for the prestigious award. The 31-year-old right-arm speedster took 71 wickets in 13 tests, which is the most by any bowler in 2024. England's Root, the #1 batter in test rankings, has amassed 1,556 runs in 17 tests. Root's compatriot Brook has scored 1,100 runs in 12 tests, while Mendes has scored 1,049 runs in 9 tests for Sri Lanka. Australia took 7 Indian wickets in the final session of the 4th Test in Melbourne to win by 184 runs and go 2-1 up in the 5-match series. Yashasvi Jaiswal fought a lone battle, scoring 84. India's downfall started when Rishabh Pant was dismissed for 30 while playing a pull shot. Nitish Kumar Reddy and Ravindra Jadeja also failed cheaply after Pant's departure. India were all out for 155 runs. For Australia, pacers Pat Cummins, Mitchell Starc grabbed 3 wickets each, while Nathan Lyon snapped up 2 wickets. The final test starts in Sydney on Friday. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and around the world on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.